So you already have a property in Valencia or Alicante, or you're thinking about buying one and dedicating it to tourist rental. Well, this video is for you. In the next 20 to 30 minutes, I'm going to be answering the most frequent asked questions about tourist rentals in Valencia and Alicante. Of course, if you have a property outside of Valencia and Alicante, for example, Barcelona, Madrid, Canary Islands, this video is going to be very useful for you because the terms that I'm going to be talking about are the same. It's just that the specific regulations vary depending on the region. And I really tell you, if you have a vacation rental in Valencia or Alicante, or you're thinking about buying a property to start one, this video is necessary for you. I really recommend you have a pen and a paper because I'm going to be answering most of the questions that I got in the last months. If you follow me, you know that I've been talking about the new regulations that came into effect in Spain, registration number, ventanilla única digital, where this is the most complete video that I'm going to be making about tourist rentals. So this said, let's go. What is a vivienda de uso turístico according to the Valencian tourism regulations? It is a complete property regardless of its typology, leased for payment, immediately available for tourist purposes for a continuous period equal to or shorter than 10 days or nights to the same tenant. Equal or shorter than 10 days. Not 11, not 15, not 30, 10 days. Keep this number in mind because it's going to be very important all along the video. Which has a favorable Informe Municipal de Compatibilidad Urbanística or Municipal Urban Compatibility Report for tourist use or an equivalent document specified by regulation, as well as any required municipal authorizations for said use. For identification and location, each vivienda turística must be associated with a referencia catastral or cadastral reference. In some cases, you may provisionally use the Código Registral Único or unique registry code. I'm going to be at the beginning saying terms in Spanish and English, and later I will just use the Spanish terms because most of them are very technical. But as I said, it's very important that you are using the Código Registral Único, you have to get the cadastral reference. If you are struggling with it, please contact us because my father is an expert on this field. But if you don't give them the cadastral reference within a year period, the registration process is going to start by default by the administration. This means that you're going to lose your tourist license, and well, I'm going to be saying this a lot along the video, but especially if you have a tourist license and you are part of a community of property owners, do whatever you have to do so you don't lose the license, because applying for a new one, I would say, is very, very complicated. What happens if I rent the property for more than 10 days to the same tenant or tourist? According to the regional regulations in Valencia and Alicante, once your property is declared and registered for uso turístico or tourist use, you are not allowed to sign any other type of contract. And let me explain this clearly because lots of people have asked me about this, and well, I understand it's easy to confuse on this, but this is quite clear. In Valencia, again, not in Madrid, not in Canary Islands, in Valencia, what differentiates, what makes different alquiler turístico from alquiler no turístico is 10 days. So if you're renting for 12 days, you don't fall under the tourism regulation. What does this mean? That if your property is registered as for uso turístico, you're only allowed to rent it for 10 days or shorter. Now, the question is, but Daniel, let's say that 1 out of 10 tenants rents the property for 2 weeks. What can I do? Well, you should limit on Booking or Airbnb the number of nights that they can rent the property. If not, you're risking yourself that the administration finds it and it's enough to take your license out. So I wouldn't risk, but well, it's true that what are the chances that the police or, administration cuts me? Okay, Daniel, I understand you talk according to the law, but what does happen in real practice? Well, I'm not sure. I think that it's quite hard to check if a tenant is going to be there for 10 days or 14 days in principle, because, well, if you're tourist renting your property, you know that you have to give them a lot of data. So this is just my guess, but I understand that they are building a monitorized information center where they're going to automatically detect it. And as I said, my opinion, the risk is too high to take it, but this is up to you. But there's a thing that you can do. Imagine, of course, if you have the property, you have it for 12 months. So imagine that you say, all right, I'm going to rent it touristically from April to October, and from November to March, I will rent it non-touristically. This means that in the first period, you're going to be able to rent it for 10 days or less, and in the second period, you are only going to be allowed to rent it for 10 days, so from 11 days. So these are the chances and this is the law. I cannot say anything else. I think this is my duty to talk according to the law, so here's the answer. How do I declare the rental period for tourist use to the tourism administration? This is the platform you will use for all these administrative procedures, and it's called Autoregistro. It can be quite complicated to use if you're not familiar with the Spanish system, so if you would rather not do it, you can contact me, we have a meeting, we see how we can assist you, and from there we can do this kind of procedures from you. But answering to the question, it's very important for you to know that from August 2024, it's an obligation to declare which periods along the year you're going to dedicate the property for tourist use and which for non-tourist use. So if you haven't done it, do it as soon as possible, because if not, again, this is enough for the administration to say, where's your license? All right, it's not there anymore. And well, this is not my opinion, but a piece of extra information that if you have a property in Spain, you probably know that national government, regional governments are quite against tourist rentals. The reasons, well, this is a matter for another video, but this is the reality. So as you see, they are putting a lot of little obstacles for this kind of activity. So it's very important for you to pay attention to all these regulations. And well, let's go to the next question. What happens if my property is registered as a tourist rental, but sometimes I rent it out for periods longer than 10 nights? Well, as you're seeing, different setup. I hope you also like it, but I already answered to this, and the answer is very clear. You are going to put yourself in risk of losing the tourist rental license. As I said, especially if your property is part of a community of property owners, I strongly recommend not putting yourself in risk. Why? Because you would have to start the process from zero, and from 3rd of April 2025, you will need explicit authorization for the community of property owners. You're going to need 60% majority to get the tourist rental license. But this is not the only thing. You also have to check if your town, if your municipality is issuing new tourist rental licenses, because town halls in Spain can say, hey, for the next year we're going to stop issuing tourist rental licenses, and well, you have to wait for a year and then we're going to see. So well, I hope this is clear. Can I rent out my property room by room in Valencia and Alicante according to Valencian tourism regulations? No, the viviendas of uso turístico must be rented entirely. This means that this activity is explicitly forbidden, and if you do it, you should know that this is considered a severe infraction. So it's not going only to be losing your license, but probably a huge fine. So, well, it's up to you, but I wouldn't do it. What steps do I need to follow to legally rent out my property for tourists in Valencia and Alicante? First, you must meet all requirements set by tourism regulation. Rent the property for tourist purposes for periods equal to or less than 10 days or nights. Submit the mandatory declaración responsable or responsible declaration to the tourism authority, and obtain the corresponding número de registro, registration number. Our law firm offers a complete service to help you obtain your tourist rental license. The first thing we will do is check if your house is a villa or a flat part of a community of property owners. If it's the first case, it would be ideal because, well, it's going to be much easier, but nonetheless, it's going to take some time, not because of our side, we can have everything, so our first part of the job done in a few weeks, but because we need approval from the ayuntamiento, and as I said, some ayuntamientos are saying, see you next year and we'll see if we issue a tourist rental license or not. So, well, if you haven't started yet, I strongly recommend contacting us. You have in the description of the video a link where you can book a consultation, and from there we can keep going. How can I get my official tourist registration number in Valencia and Alicante? First, it's important to clarify something. Although I'm now going to talk about the tourist registration number or número de registro turístico, don't confuse this with another registration number procedure, known as the número de registro, which is used once you already have your tourist license. This second number allows you to list and promote your property on platforms like Booking or Airbnb. So remember clearly, the first número de registro turístico authorizes you to operate vacation rentals legally, and the second número de registro, which is requested to the land registry, allows you to list it on platforms such as Booking. To obtain your official tourist registration number, the first step is to inform the tourism administration that you intend to start tourist rental activities. You will do this through the online platform I've mentioned earlier, Autoregistro. After submitting your information through this platform, the Regional Tourism Authority, la Generalitat Valenciana, will review your documentation. This includes the Municipal Compatibility Report or Informe Municipal de Compatibilidad Urbanística Favorable and, when necessary, documents confirming representation or shared ownership. If everything is correct, you will receive your número de registro turístico. If you submitted all the documentation and there are some mistakes that can be solved, they will send you what is called a requerimiento de subsanación, and you have 10 working days to just check the documents, make sure what you did wrong and make it right, and send them to them, and cross your fingers and hope that you get the allowance to operate vacation rentals. Is the registration in the registro as a vivienda de uso turístico forever? No. Since the entry into force of El Decreto de Ley de Viviendas in Valencian community, that was August 2024, the registration of viviendas de uso turístico is valid for 5 years. When does the 5-year validity period for registration in the Registro de Viviendas de Uso Turístico begin? First, properties registered until 7th of August 2024, the renewal date is 8th of August 2029. And second, the property registered from 8th of August 2024 onward, the renewal is every 5 years from the date of registration. This will be stated in the notification. How do I renew my tourist rental registration, and when can I start the renewal process? To renew your registration and keep renting your property to tourists for another 5 years, you will need to submit a declaración responsable de renovación through the online platform Autoregistro that I have mentioned before. And make sure that you do this at least 1 month before your current registration expires. Is the renewal declaration and required documentation always the same? No, definitely not. And this is one of these questions that I recommend you that you take a pen and a paper, because this is very important. The exact documents you need depend heavily on when you initially registered your property, and here we get into specific laws, decrees, and even annexes attached to these laws. So let's simplify this clearly. If your property was registered before July 8th, 2018, the renewal process is simpler. You mainly have to confirm that your property meets the basic minimum standards required at that time. If your property was registered between the 8th of July 2018 and the 7th of August 2024, you will need to submit a full renewal declaration with the owner's explicit consent, almost as if you were registering the property for the first time. This means you will have to provide updated documents again, such as the municipality urban compatibility report, in Spanish is Informe de Compatibilidad Urbanística. And if your property was registered after the 8th of August 2024, you have a few additional steps. Again, with the explicit consent of the property owner, you will need to submit a detailed renewal declaration covering all points required by the updated regulation. Additionally, you must include a recently Informe Municipal de Compatibilidad Urbanística Favorable. Keep in mind these dates clearly as they determine the complexity and amount of documentation that you will have to submit or even get it done once again. If you need any help with the Informe Municipal de Compatibilidad Urbanística, I haven't talked about this yet, but with the licencia de primera o segunda ocupación, declaración responsable de renovación, this documentation is quite technical, so if I were you, I would happily ask for the help of a person who dedicates himself to that. As I said, I work alongside my father and, well, we work in this field, so feel free to contact us. And if you heard carefully, in the last question, I was mentioning something about the homeowner's explicit consent. And why I say this? This is in connection to the next questions, but basically, one thing is the property owner and another thing is the person that appears in the touristic registry, Registro Turístico, as the person that is handing down vacation rental. So this is why if you are using a third person to handle your vacation rental, which is completely understandable, play the last question again, and especially the next questions are made for you. Who is the titular or holder in the tourism registry? The titular or holder of a tourist accommodation establishment can be an individual, a company, or a joint ownership arrangement, regardless of property ownership, responsible for commercial management, unified exploitation, and compliance with tourism regulations. If a change of ownership occurs, the new owner becomes the holder by submitting what is called declaración responsable de cambio de propietario. If the new holder wishes to transfer management to a third party, a change of holder procedure must be carried out electronically. And pay attention, if you're the property owner, even if you're not listed as a holder, you have subsidiary responsibility for violations concerning illegal tourism activities if they fail, upon request, to identify actual holders within the specified time. A vivienda de uso turístico can only have one registered holder at any given time. What happens if I buy a property that already has a tourist rental license? Basically, the new owner must officially notify the tourism authorizations about the change of ownership through a specific declaración responsable. And now you will see where things can get tricky. Along with this declaration, the new owner must provide an updated document from the local town hall confirming the property's suitability for tourist rentals, or Informe Municipal de Compatibilidad Urbanística Favorable. After submitting these documents and of course upon approval, the registry will consider the new property owner as the one in the Registro de Viviendas Turísticas. What happens if I don't submit the new declaración responsable de renovación after the 5-year registration period ends? Your property will be automatically removed from the Registro de Turismo. What happens if my property is registered as a tourist rental but I haven't provided the referencia catastral? If you didn't provide the referencia catastral by December 31st, 2024, your property could now face the registration proceedings from the Registro de Turismo, according to current laws. Property owners were specifically given until December 31st, 2024 to submit their property's referencia catastral using the official procedure. If you haven't done so yet, you should immediately contact your provincial servicio territorial to resolve this issue. It's also important to note that you will need this referencia catastral not only for the declaración responsable but for all documents regarding the property, because basically the referencia catastral helps identifying the property and its location. Again, if you need help with getting this or any other document regarding tourist rental licenses, we are here for that. Can I register multiple tourist rental properties using the same referencia catastral? No, you cannot. Each tourist rental property must have its own unique referencia catastral. Can I register accommodation in the registro in person? No. These procedures can only be done electronically. Can a lawyer, gestor, or other professional handle these procedures for me? Come on, if that wouldn't be possible, why I would be making this video? Of course, this is a joke, But the answer is yes, because we actually manage some of these procedures for our clients. The thing that we need is either electronic authorization. Well, this is very technical, so if you want us to handle these procedures, just contact myself, or we can also arrange a power of attorney. The problem with powers of attorney is that they have a fee. Not our fee, we include that in, so we don't charge anything for the power of attorney, but especially if you are far away from where our offices are located. But well, this video is made for Valencia and Alicante's regions, so if you are in Alicante, you are 45 minutes from our office. If you're from Valencia, it's an hour and a half. And if you are from Benidorm, Calpe, Javia, Moraira, Denia, Teulada, Oliva, Gandia, all the Costa Blanca area, you are only 20 minutes away from us. So what are you waiting for? Just text us, send us an email, you can book directly your consultation and we'll start working for you. What exactly do I need to declare in the declaración responsable, and which documents must I provide when registering my property as a vivienda de uso turístico? This is the mandatory document for all properties, el informe municipal de compatibilidad urbanística favorable. This is a report issued by your local town hall confirming that your property can legally be used for tourist rentals. If your municipality has suspended license issuance or modified its urban planning rules, this document must be less than 6 months old. Now, you might wonder why there are some ayuntamientos or town halls blocking this kind of document. And well, the answer is very simple. Politics, because it's very populist to say, no, we're going to stop issuing new informes de compatibilidad urbanística. And the truth is that they can do it until someone goes there and challenges it. And I'm really hoping to find a case like this. Me and my father, he's the experienced lawyer, but well, I guess it's normal. I'm young and I say this honestly. I think that they have not the capacity to do this, because if you meet all the legal standards and requirements for your property to be tourist use, and this is something that has to do more with urban planning and with other kind of, let's say that is quite objective, you know, they can just say, no, we're not issuing more. So in theory they cannot do it, because in practice they are doing it. But I'm sure that if this happens and someone, a lawyer, is brave enough to go to court and challenge this, I'm sure this is going to change. I cannot guarantee it for sure, but well, if you are having issues with this, come on, you have here a professional who's eager to find a case to challenge some town hall, and you know, we'll see what happens. So, we just have talked about the declaración responsable y el informe municipal de compatibilidad urbanística. But besides that, you must confirm the following details. You must prove you have the right to rent out the property. This could be a property deed, a rental contract, or management authorization. You also must confirm your property meets all basic requirements established by law. The exact details are specified in el Decreto Ley 9/2024. Your property must have a unique catastral reference number. If you don't have it yet, you can temporarily provide a provisional Código de Registro Único, but you will need the final reference within 1 year. Your property must have valid civil liability insurance covering potential damages related to tourist rental activities. You should also confirm you have all necessary licenses or permissions from other authorities, such as urban planning, environmental, health, or homeowners association if required by law. You have to state clearly the periods where the property will be rented for tourism purposes and confirm that you're complying with all applicable tax and social security obligations related to your rental activities. If the case applies, you have to certify that your homeowners association doesn't have rules or statutes prohibiting tourist rentals. And as I said, if you're applying for the tourist rental from 3rd of April 2024 and your property is part of a community of property owners, you must get expressal authorization from them. Besides, you have to declare that you'll fulfill your legal obligation to register guest details according to national law, and you must have an energy performance certificate, certificado energético, for your property. There's another document that you probably already have, but if not, you should get it. And well, my father is specialized on this kind of procedures, and it's la licencia de primera o de segunda ocupación. Well, now I could be covering what happens if your property is commercial or it's in a non-developable land, but I think maybe it's going too much. Most of you are going to need, but as I'm saying, you probably already have a primera o segunda licencia de ocupación. So, well, if you have a very complex case, which happens. I thought this was, for example, well, I'm not going to give the example because if not, it's going to take me another half an hour. But the truth is that in reality, there are some special cases that maybe the house is in the middle of nowhere, and according to the urban plans, that area is non-developable. So we can still get the tourist rental license, but let's say that it requires a lot of extra steps. So if that's your case, just contact me. Are there mandatory minimum requirements regarding equipment, dimensions, facilities, services, or access and communications for tourist rentals? Yes, if you want to see exactly these requirements, you should go to the Decreto Ley de Vivienda de la Comunidad Valenciana 9/2024 and go to the third annex. Now, an annex, I hope it's the translation for anexo, is something that is attached to the law, basically. So now I will be telling you the most important ones, but well, this is a large list. An evacuation plan. If your accommodation is on the ground floor, you will need a dedicated customer entrance, and regardless of the type of property and where it's located, you will need a 24-hour customer contact. If we talk about facilities and service, you will need a cooling and heating system, internet, first aid kit, medical information, reception service, cleaning service. And for property equipment, I think it's worth saying that you need a washing machine unless your accommodation is within a building that has a common laundry area. Is it mandatory to display an identifying sign? And the answer is yes. You can see the specific size of this sign in the Autoregistro web. Well, in the Valencian community, you just type it and you will find it. This is very technical, I know. Bureaucracy sometimes is something that keeps surprising me, because they even tell you how big it has to be, the color, because of course if it's in a rural area the color must be different, the size is slightly different, but well, you should know that yes, this is mandatory, as well as the compliant forms. Am I obligated to report all tourist data to el Registro de Viajeros? Yes, you must do it, and this is something that you have to tick the box in the declaración responsable that we have talked about before. So, well, the consequences if you don't do it are quite severe. So I know it can be very stressful and pain in the ass actually, but come on, it's part of the job. Comunidades de Propietarios, Homeowners Association, Community of Property Owners. There are several ways to say this, but the question is, are they allowed to limit or prohibit vacation rentals? And short answer is yes. Basically, if you have your license from before April the 3rd, 2025, you're going to still able to, let's say, do vacation rentals, but be careful, because there's it's not a secret way, but basically if they prohibit vacation rentals in the building and they register this prohibition in the community's bylaws or estatutos de la comunidad, there's a second procedure once you have got your tourist rental license, which is called a registration number. I made several videos on TikTok, Instagram about it, also a YouTube video, I recommend you watching it. It can happen that even though you have your tourist rental license in order, you're not able to list it on platforms such as Airbnb or Booking, which is the same as prohibiting vacation rentals. And yes, this is completely true. So this is something that you should know. So basically, yes, and if you have not your tourist rental license before April the 3rd, you must get explicit authorization by your Comunidad de Propietarios. By the way, if you're interested on learning why the Spanish Supreme Court decided this, I made a video analyzing the sentence, the Yeah, what the Spanish Supreme Court said 5 or 6 months ago, and it explains a lot of today's reality. So I'll leave this video here and in the description on the video, and I recommend you watching it. Do I need to have house rules for my tourist rental property? Yes, and these house rules should at least include basic rules for respectful coexistence, conditions for using shared facilities and service, and clear guidelines regarding whether or not pets are allowed, including any specific conditions. If guests refuse to comply with these rules, the first thing is that the property owner or the manager warns them that they should stop doing this behavior. Of course, okay, this is the first step. What happens if they don't do it? Well, in serious cases, the manager or property owner has the right to tell them to leave the property. And if they don't do it, the property owner or manager has the right to call the police, and the police will do whatever they think it's appropriate. Do I need to complete any additional registration to list my property on platforms like Airbnb or Booking? Yes, starting July this year, in addition to the tourist rental license, you will need another registration number that will allow you to list your property on platforms like Airbnb or Booking. I already explained why I recommend you doing it as soon as possible, and I have a specific video about this, so I'll leave it here and in the description. I think it's so I really worked on this video before anyone talked about it, so I think it's worth it for you watching it. If you have watched this video until this point, very sure that you at least have a basic knowledge about what vacation rentals are in Spain, specifically in Valencia and Alicante. It can be useful if you already have a tourist rental license, but this video can be very useful for those who still haven't bought a property in Spain but are looking to invest in order to start this activity. And well, it's still possible, as you have seen along the video, but I really recommend you contacting with a lawyer. It can be my lawyer, sorry for the noise of the computer, it can be my father and I. My father has been doing this, but I think now the role of the lawyer is very important, because when you're buying or selling a property, there's this process of the due diligence. And now that this is going to be a lot of depending when the property was registered, what the community of property owners have to say, I wouldn't go straight into, okay, I want this property and I'm going to buy it to start vacation rental. Wait a sec. And well, if this is your case, I want to tell you that if you are looking to buy or sell your property in Spain, we offer you a free consultation, whether you come to our offices in Denia or Moraira or online. If you come to our offices in Denia or Moraira, we also offer a first consultation. But if you have some questions regarding your tourist vacation rental, if you want us to review your documents because, whatever service you need, we now charge for the meeting. This charge, if you finally hire our services, it will be deducted from that. But well, I hope you understand that in the last weeks, months, since I started talking about vacation rentals, the volume of requests has increased a lot. And well, actually, sometimes I think, okay, I answered this very straightforward, but no. You really have to dedicate time to it, and me and my father have decided this. But well, you still have all the free videos that I'm going to keep posting on YouTube, on social media. I really recommend you following me on TikTok, Instagram, because I post content that is related to it, but it's not the exact same as this one. And well, if I haven't said before, my name is Daniel Bertomeu. I work alongside my father, and it's a pleasure to do these videos. And well, if you enjoyed it, please leave the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you in future ones. And don't forget to leave a comment. You can say, hey Daniel, nice video. You can say, hey Daniel, my house is in Malaga. Could you do a video about this but for Andalusia? Come on, of course I can do it. We are in Alicante, but we have worked already with clients from Marbella, Mallorca, Barcelona. And one of my favorite things about this work is, having to travel for work reasons. Come on, it's a pleasure. It's a complete pleasure. I'm really loving it. So yes, I'll see you in future videos. I'll leave all the relevant information in the description and see you soon. Bye bye.